Just a few days ago, I was presented with an exciting challenge from one of my viewers and I just couldn't resist. As a result, I accidentally created a perfect tactic using a very underrated role. Not only did I manage to get the best out of the role, but this role also got the best out of the players around him, dragging defenders away and creating space for his teammates to attack and exploit. This role and tactic is a game changer. A part of the challenge was to create it with a team in the Vanarama league, and I did, with a team predicted to finish mid-table. I then tested it in Italy and Turkey, getting major success in all of those leagues. Luckily for you guys, we will be breaking down this tactic and role in the video, and hopefully I can persuade you guys
to use a
The first team I tested it with was in the Vanarama National League North, Bishop Stortford, who are predicted to finish 23rd. In the season preview, they actually predicted to finish 13th, but they did just get promoted. And the main man we will be looking at here is Osman Sow, because Mr. Osman scored 42 goals in 50 starts or 50 appearances with 10 assists. Admittedly, he did score 13 penalties, but regardless, scoring that many goals using this role is absolutely amazing. And with Bishop Stortford, we absolutely dominated a league. We were expected to finish around mid-table to that relegation zone. Looking at the average rating, we've got 2 players there, but we did score 122 goals. Statistically, we absolutely dominated this league. In the data hub, everything is looking absolutely amazing. We scored 122 goals, even though we were only expected to score around 100. With our attacking efficiency, we were aggressive and clinical, high scoring and aggressive shooting, also aggressive and clinical. Yeah, it's told us the same thing twice. That's just how good we were going forward. And lastly, crossing, because this is a huge part of the tactic and the role. We put in a lot of crosses and we were also accurate. I do believe it is counting some of the set pieces as well, but we do cross a lot because of this role. Because I was having so much fun with the tactic, I then flew over to Italy to try out the role with Marcus Thuram. He did score a lot less in a slightly tweaked variation, but regardless, his average rating was the 3rd highest in this Inter Milan team. So again, this role proving to be highly effective. With Inter, we also scored over 100 goals in the Champions League. We lost in the final to Bayern Munich. I'm absolutely heartbroken because we did deserve to win this game. Come on. We did win the Coppa Italia though, and the Supercoppa Italiana. And the last stop was in Turkey actually, using Beşiktaş, where we use Ante Rebic now in this underrated role. He went on to score 17 goals with 9 assists, and just like Osman Sow, he went on to have the highest average rating in the whole team. So, what role exactly am I banging on about? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the wide target forward, and now we are going to break down why this was so effective in Football Manager. The concept behind using a wide target forward is extremely simple yet effective. As described in Football Manager, the wide target forward is ideally positioned against a smaller and weaker fullback. This can give you an advantage in various scenarios. Goal kicks, you can aim for the wide target forward for a flick on. If you're being high pressed, you can use your wide target forward to escape a press, and even throw-ins. Time after time after time, we take a short throw, cross it far post, where our tall target winger gets the beating of his smaller and weaker fullback opposition. I love talking about creating superiorities in tactics, and this gives you a physical superiority even against sides that are considered the favourites. Not to mention it also being a great tool breaking down a low block. Don't you also be getting this role misunderstood? Because it doesn't sound fancy, it doesn't mean it can't do amazing things tactically. The use of a target forward already attracts the attention of your opponents. They want to make sure that they mark that threat, but this is also often an error on their part. With our wide target forward dragging defenders away from where they should be, this creates plenty of space for us to attack and exploit. In return, bringing the best out of those around him. With the opposition fullback wanting to mark our target winger, he'd often create some distance between himself and the central defender as our winger peels away. This allows for our central midfielder to make a run inside, unmarked and unchallenged. You could call this an underlap. Simultaneously, we can double up on that fullback by also having an overlapping fullback ourselves, creating a 2 versus 1 out on the flank and causing absolute mayhem. The difference I find with the wide target forward and other winger roles is when the opposition is defending. The wide target forward is like a magnet. The defenders can't help themselves but tight mark. If you're using a winger for an example and he's hugging the touchline, the fullback might not engage until the winger is about to receive the ball. But with the wide target forward, the fullback is tight marking early, thus creating gaps in defenses early in our attacking move. It allows us to attack centrally, which teams really hate. A great example in real life would be Mario Mandzukic. Wide target forwards are rare and hard to find in real life. A disciplined role too. Rather than roaming around and interchanging, the target winger will be there to serve a purpose. But this does not mean hoofball. There can be a misinterpretation of this role and target forwards in general. Our style of play isn't to be direct in the air, so it's not what we will do unless we need to use that option to escape a press or target a weakness from set plays. A target forward can still be a target with balls being played into feet where they can hold up the ball and hold up play. But we do play on the counter-attack, and that is also where we may play directly into our winger, quickly turning defense into a goal-scoring opportunity. In the analysis, I did mention that your wide target forward can create a physical superiority even against teams that are the favourites. Now, this is not the best example because I am actually Bayern Munich. There's no greater favourite than Bayern Munich, but I do want to show you how we can transition from back to front quickly, just playing it into the wide target forward. When the goalkeeper has the ball, we can distribute the ball quickly, distribute to a certain area, position, no, it is a position, and then we can look for our wide target forward, and this is what happens. In the last game against RB Leipzig, we used Mathys Tel as the wide target forward. I actually wanted to use Harry Kane, but he got injured in pre-season. Of course he does. So here is the goalkeeper on the ball, and he's just going to lob it forward straight into Mathys Tel, wins the flick on, there's Goretzka, and already we're at the halfway line. We don't necessarily need to do that fancy play out from the back to get that further forward. We could just simply use the goalkeeper, boom, to Mathys Tel, knock it down, and we've got the ball in control. Now, this happened 3 times in the game against Leipzig. He lost one header in the game, but here he is, wins the flick on, straight to Goretzka's feet again. It's the same combination, Mathys Tel to Goretzka to the left back. On Twitter, I did try and break this down myself. I'm trying to figure out this madness. I had a picture of the system in my head, but the wide target forward role is doing more than what I had pictured. My idea was to create 2 versus 1s or 3 versus 1s, even 3 versus 2, by having both overlapping and underlapping runs of the wide target forward. So that means possibly a central midfielder or attacking midfielder making an underlapping run, and then having a fullback making an overlapping run. There could be 3 players in and around that left flank and that left half space. But when watching on Football Manager, it was like the AI are trying to deal with something which ends up opening so many doors. So in this image here against Atletico Madrid, you can see we got Thuram here as the wide target forward, and Molina, their fullback, is tight marking. The ball is on the far side, so our winger is not an immediate threat right now, but Atletico Madrid sees our target forward a threat at all times. And if we can see here, this little highlighted area, this has created some space immediately between their fullback and their central defender. And this can also mean that our central player, either attacking midfielder, central midfielder, a striker, can spin from the central area into that space there and can go make a run through on goal. And this just kept happening time after time again, especially against Atletico Madrid, where they are set up to be difficult to break down, but they simply just was not. Again, here is Marcus Thuram out on that wide flank, and their fullback is defending, but this has discombobulated their whole defense line. It looks like they've got 1 central defender and about 4 defensive midfielders. And look at Henrik Mkhitaryan here about to exploit that space with runners attacking the space in behind that this wide target forward seems to have created. This is a lovely scenario on why you should use either overlapping runs, underlapping runs, or both. Here, their fullback has no idea what to do, as we are now using both overlapping and underlapping runs around our wide target forward. What you can do is have a central midfielder or attacking midfielder penetrating, so an attack duty. That could be a central midfielder on attack, Mazzala on attack, or a shadow striker, attacking midfielder on attack. Then we have a fullback who will be looking to get further forward. You can use an overlap as a team instruction, or you can use a wing-back fullback on attack. But once again, what you can see here, the distance between this fullback and his centre-back. This allows Arnautovic and Aslani to both attack that space just freely. And here points out the versatility as well. So in this tweet, I did say that the wide target forward is doing more than what I had pictured. Now we are using Marcus Thuram. He's not just being a wide target forward looking fancy on the outside, he's still attacking space that if there is space there, once again, that space has been created because the fullback is so wide, marking Marcus Thuram. For what reason? Well, kind of I get it here. I do kind of get it here, but it has caused danger. What Marcus Thuram has done now is latched onto a beautiful through ball from Henrik Mkhitaryan, who could just play it in this gap here, goes towards the byline, just plays it hard and low for Lautaro Martinez, and he taps it in. And to see this in play as well, this is a clip that I loaded on Twitter. Marko Arnautovic is the left winger here. Just look at this right here. So if we stop this and pull it back, the fullback, once again, he's just so attracted to Arnautovic that right now we're about to pop the most dangerous 1-2 that Genoa have ever seen. So here's Arnautovic, plays it, pops it into Carlos Augusto, and then boom, 1-2. Arnautovic is now attacking space. Arnautovic, by the way, no pace, no acceleration, no agility, but still finds his way in some space. Now, this is a lovely goal, actually. He pulls it back, plays it into Carlos. We were using a register in this tactic. Now, our register is now facing towards Genoa's back line. He can pick out so many passes and he can drive forward, which he does. Picks out a lovely pass. Lautaro Martinez into Buchanan, and then bam, goal. And lastly, before we do go into Football Manager and break down this tactic, here Arnautovic wasn't even involved in the play at all. He doesn't even touch the ball. But just look at the two fullbacks, or the one fullback and the central defender for Genoa. So there's Sabel, the right back, he's already marking Arnautovic, but then one of their centre backs, Bani, if you just watch him closely, so here it is there. He's made his move closer to Arnautovic now. They're doubling up on Arnautovic. And again, look at the space this has created. All now what's going to happen is our central midfielder is going to attack the ball. He can't be closed down now by that central defender who should be closing him down. And then at goal, bang, top corner. Mwah. Golaccio! It has been truly amazing being back creating content for you guys. I'm absolutely in my zone as well. But if you are enjoying my content and you would like to support the channel, which would be hugely appreciated, then please consider joining a Patreon if you can afford it from as little as £3. There is tactical content on Patreon, but there's also discussions on Patreon in our community as well. If you're stuck, you can just join our little group chat, our little community, and we can help you through it. But also, if you need a tactic that needs saving, you know where to go. From here, I will stress it's incredibly important to play the game how you want it. Now, me personally, I do like high pressing tactics. So we are high pressing in this tactic. We've got counter press, we've got counter, and we're using a high press, a high defense line, prevent distribution, and more often. If you feel you want to, the whole point in this video isn't necessarily, hey, get my tactic, download it. You can take ideas from it. Maybe you have a 4-2-3-1, maybe you have a 4-2-4, and you can implement a wide target forward in that tactic as well. You don't necessarily have to use this tactic, but admittedly, this tactic, it is a banger. So again, even down to the roles, you might have different profiles in your squad, so you might want to slightly tweak it. Just make sure you don't lose the complete essence of the tactic. So, how exactly can we help you, sir, the wide target forward? One way we are going to help him is by getting a central midfielder on attack to try and attack this space here. So if the wide target forward has the ball and their fullback drifts over to try and mark him, he creates that space for that central midfielder to attack, boom, into that channel. But also, we are going to help him by just using a fullback on support. Now, we are going to add get further forward, and we are also going to add an overlap. Now, what that's going to help do is boost his mentality, get his starting position slightly higher and ready for that overlap. If we do look at the player's mentality right now, the fullback on support is on positive. With get further forward, he is going to look to get further forward. Now, if I do remove this instruction of the overlap, go back to the fullback, he has dropped now to balance. So he's going to be playing in a more balanced way, whereas with the overlap, he will be playing in a more positive way. What also helps with those overlaps and underlaps is the fact that the wide target forward holds up the ball. He also dribbles less as well, so he's sort of a, I don't know, he's good at retaining possession, so he's not going to be like an inside forward where he's dribbling a lot and trying risky passes. Actually, he's just holding up the ball. He's not really dribbling. He can retain possession in attack as well. Another useful use for the wide target forward. I do have different variations of this tactic. If I was at Bayern Munich, I would be more likely to use a regista, a more fancy role, but at Bishop Stortford, we did just use that standard defensive midfielder role, so when that can just glue that midfield together. I did try actually on the defensive duty, but it just wasn't as strong for some odd reason. So we are using a central midfielder on attack, on support as well, and then a defensive midfielder on support. If you are an underdog, if you are a favourite team, then you can use a regista. That version will obviously come in the download folder. In defence, we are using 2 ball playing defenders. The goalkeeper is a sweeper keeper. You could just use a goalkeeper as well. That might be good for distribution, and you can kind of use whatever duty, whatever you like there with the goalkeeper. And the right back is the same as the left back. Fullback on support. Moving into attack now, we have an inside forward on attack. Why? Because up top, we have a pressing forward on support. He's going to kind of, again, hold up the ball. We got 2 players in the attack line actually holding up the ball, and this allows for some runners, the central midfielder on attack, and the inside forward on attack. Another reason why our attack can be so effective. So the flanks are not mirrored. We've got different attacking strategies down both flanks, which can create confusion against opposition defenders. On the left hand side, of course, we've got the wide target forward looking to create 2 versus 1s or 3 versus 1s even sometimes. But on the right hand side, we've got a central midfielder who likes to thread passes further forward, and that could be threading passes into the inside forward who joins the striker, or it could be to the fullback who might get further forward. He just might. So that's the player roles. The only difference in the variations is simply the register. Sometimes it will be a defensive midfielder on support, especially for the cautious version of this tactic as well. Now in transition, I did mention already, we are using counter press and we are using counter attack, and the goalkeeper will distribute the ball quickly. I mean, you don't have to use this. I did use this at Bayern Munich, but I didn't use it in all the other tests because it's simply not just the way that I wanted to play. My way of playing isn't always just to be more direct, get the ball further forward to the wide target forward. That can actually be a bit repetitive, and you can kind of guess it's going to happen. You can kind of defend against that because you're going to know what the opposition team are going to do, unless you have an unstoppable wide target forward, which we did have at Bishop Stortford. But it might not be necessarily a tactic that I use all the time, but I could just simply go into the opposition, have a look at their fullback, Anthony Jung. I mean, his jumping reach is fairly decent, so I probably wouldn't use that tactic against Werder Bremen. But if his jumping reach was around 7-8, then I would likely just hoof it long to our wide target forward. And then lastly, out of possession, this is simply what it looks like. We've already done this. Higher defense line, higher line of engagement, trigger press more often, and prevent that short goalkeeper distribution. In possession, because I almost forgot about that actually, we are using the shorter passing directness, a higher tempo, and we are focusing down the flanks as well. We're going to send in low crosses and run at the defense as well. The low crosses is a bit of a scam, because we do score a lot of goals from low crosses, especially from the right back actually, but we also get a lot of floated far post crosses as well, which is for the target forward. So again, we've got multiple ways, and that is just simply by using a role that is influencing that. We're not telling them, hey, mix your crosses. We're saying, hey, low crosses, but the fullbacks, or the players I should say, are smart. They can see that tall fullback at the far post. They're going to aim for him in chance creation. So the left back will have take more risks, run wider the ball, get further forward, stay wider. The right back, basically the same. At centre back, we've got dribble more, and the left-sided one is staying wider, mainly so if that left back gets further forward, he can move out in wider areas as well, and hopefully we're not too exposed down that flank. In defensive midfield, mark tighter, which would be the exact same case for the register. Right side of central midfield, take more risk, get further forward, move into the channels, tackle harder. And on the left-hand side, basically the same thing, dribble more, move into channels. There is no take more risk though. The wide target forward, sit more narrow, tackle harder. The right winger is holding up the ball as well as sitting narrow and tackling harder. Lastly, the pressing forward up top. So actually, the whole attacking line are holding up the ball, but the central striker and the left winger will be doing it more naturally, of course, as it is hard-coded. Now lastly, set pieces. Nobody's actually ever asked about set piece routines. Now what I like to do is just use the preset routines, and then I have player marking, but then 2 forward, and then I go into attack, go down to routines again, preset routine, near post, in swing, and that is literally what I do. I just let the assistant, whoever, just pick the players that are attacking in their post and all of that pizzazz. I don't really care about set pieces, to be honest, but unfortunately, actually wait, the wide target forward can be extremely useful from those corners, which I didn't actually set up. So you can set that up as well as those short throws as well and try and get it to the far post for that wide target forward. But unfortunately, that wraps up today's video. I hope you guys have really enjoyed today's video. I've enjoyed recording it. Also, thank you for that comment on YouTube as well. I don't think they actually meant for a whole video to be like this, but here we are. If there are any other roles that you think are underrated or you don't know how to get the best out of, make sure you leave it in the comment section. But that wraps up today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I will see you guys soon. Stay safe. God bless. Wow, peace out.